Okay, take two. Take two. We are going to see if the comments work. Okay, we're trying this again. I think I have the comments enabled now. So, hey everyone, it's Michelle Ferreri here, and I am just trying to get myself sorted and delve into my uncomfortable place of trying to figure out the tech side of going live on YouTube and seeing if it works. So I just did one to ask if people were interested. I've been thinking about doing sort of a yeah, exactly. I've got people texting me. Okay, I can see you guys. Okay, you guys are amazing. Okay, yes. Okay, yes. Okay, so you guys, now let's have a conversation. Are you guys cool? Do you guys want to see a YouTube live? Would you rather it be edited and uploaded? I want to hear from you guys. I'm thinking about doing it live, either, probably 3 times a week. But it's so funny. Like, as I'm doing this, somebody just texted me and said, "Can you effing imagine if a Conservative MP did this? She's still a sitting member of Parliament and has accepted 2 other jobs publicly. This is so effed to me." Of course, this person is speaking about Chrystia Freeland being appointed as the economic advisor to Ukraine. Like, it's actually insane. It's actually insane. Yeah, I would love seeing this live. Hey, Michelle, good morning. Hi, Michelle from Oshawa. Yes. Okay, so you guys are cool with lives. Yeah, exactly. You mean laundering money. Yeah, like, this is insane, right? And so I'm very curious to see how the mainstream media is going to spin this. Yeah, it's wow. You know, it was like just over a year ago, I went at Chrystia Freeland in the House of Commons and was like, either you're a fake feminist or you walk away from Trudeau. And sure enough, Trudeau threw her under the bus, and then she threw him under the bus and wrote this kind of scathing letter. And then it just went from like bad to worse, because it was like, it exposed Trudeau for who he really was, which is this is totally fake feminist. He uses women as props all the time and hides behind these labels, and he's a total fraud. And then Mark Carney gets appointed, and he's exactly the same. Mark Carney is like, "Oh, I'm used to being a CEO. You'll do what I say when I say it." And, you've seen his sort of dismissiveness towards Melanie Joly and all of these people. Like, he's just brutal. So then Chrystia Freeland, though, goes in a leadership race against Carney. And it's just like, it's so corrupt. Like, I don't blame people for just like wanting to check out, because it's like, what is the frickin' point, right? Um, yeah, how many jobs does Freeland have? Yeah, it's your guys are 100% correct. Carney's the godfather to her child. Like, I mean, this is the nepotism that is just so brutal in politics. And like, listen, I'm not going to tell you that like it relationships built and like that is absolutely how the world works, where it's like, oh, I know this person or that person or whatever, and I think they'd be great and I like working with them. Like, that is like real life. But this is next level, where you have taxpayer dollars funding some lady who's clearly got a massive conflict of interest. So what? She still gets to make $208,000 as a member of Parliament, your money, and now she's the economic advisor to Ukraine. And Carney appointed her to something else too. Like, I've just lost track of how many jobs this woman has. It's a huge conflict of interest. It's gross. These are all people, I Oakville EDA, the Electoral District Association, did this awesome post on Facebook. And they're like, happy 1-year anniversary to Anita Anand on her quitting. Remember, all these Liberal MPs were quitting, Sean Fraser, Chrystia Freeland, like they were just like, jumping from the Titanic. And then, oh, our beloved, selected king, Mark Carney, is coming in. We're going to win. So I'm going to run again. And I'm going to get some sweet deal. He's offered me some backdoor deal. And what I think it really comes down to, honestly, is morality. I was sitting at the table the other night. My kids and I were having this conversation. And we were talking about the Hockey Canada scandal and the 5 players and the woman who came out and they were found not guilty. And obviously, if you followed my role in Hockey Canada, I went after Hockey Canada quite aggressively because they actually have an insurance money, taxpayer money, from Sport Canada to fund sexual assault cases. And they were definitely hiding behind a very broken system. And so what I said at the table was, I said it wasn't illegal what those guys did, but it was immoral. And it made me think about all of the things that are happening in our country. Like, so Brookfield, Mark Carney, who's, benefits financially greatly, right? Because he was the chair of Brookfield. He says, "Oh no, I've got rid of all my assets. They're in a blind trust. Blind trust doesn't even make any sense. How do you have a blind trust? That doesn't, it's like an oxymoron." And so then we find out he's used the CRA tax loopholes to avoid paying $6 billion in taxes. It's legal. It's legal, but it's not moral. And I'm just trying to read some of your comments. Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your feedback and all of this. So, I mean, this new announcement and this new appointment of Chrystia Freeland, like, if she doesn't, two things need to happen right now. Parliament needs to go back to work because of what happened in Venezuela and what's going to happen to Canada as a result of this. How does this impact us? Like, this is going to devastate us because Mark Carney didn't get the trade negotiations done with Trump that he promised. Remember, elbows, 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 because he lied to win. And he is not... The thing about Mark Carney that he won on, where he's like, "Oh, he's a nice, he's the adult in the room." You need a leader right now. You are in probably one of the most volatile political times, geopolitical times of our history. You need a leader. And Mark Carney isn't that. Mark Carney doesn't know who he is, what he stands for. He's like the wind. He has no convictions. He's trying to say everything to please everybody, and that's not a leader. A leader has to be willing to do things that will piss people off, because they have to make tough decisions. And Mark Carney doesn't. Like, even if you saw his response to the Venezuelan, the capturing of Maduro, like, it was the biggest word salad. Like, this guy says so many words and says nothing. He's a classic politician. And that creates chaos, right? Like, anybody who's worked in an organization that functions well and has a great culture, or a family even that does well, there are clear boundaries. There is integrity. There is morals. There is, we won't compromise on these things. These things are non-negotiable. There is no morals. There is nothing in the Liberal Party. They're like the wind. They will go into one group of people and they will say one thing, and they will go into another group of people and say another thing. They will turn on you, and they have no morals. And I can't stress enough, like, no morals destroys, is rot. It's rot because there's no foundation there. Okay, awesome. I'm just reading your comments here. Living the retired life, I guess you have to go back to work. Carney was in Nanaimo, BC for one day at what cost to Canadians? Yeah, there's no integrity. Yeah. It's I just feel like it's probably been like this for a while. It's way more exposed than it's ever been because of the internet. So it's Banana Town. That's all I can tell you. Okay, so I'm gonna put some stuff together. When I do these lives, I'll be way more organized and have a lot more content for you. There's just constant stuff happening here, and I will let you guys know what times, if there's an ideal time you'd like me to go live, what days of the week, key topics. Like, obviously, I'm going to be doing a lot of reactionary stuff of what's happening politically, try to educate people, try to get people the best informed that they can. But I want to hear from you. What do you want to hear about? what matters to you, and what do you want to see more of and less of. Question period today in another 2 hours. No, there is no question period today, James. The House is not sitting. That is the other issue that I was saying. Like, two things need to happen. Sorry, I got lost my train of thought from your comments. Two things need to happen. Chrystia Freeland needs to resign as a member of Parliament. It's a huge conflict of interest. She cannot be given this appointment and not resign. It's completely wrong. And number two, Parliament needs to resume because they need to be working in the House of Commons to discuss what's going to happen with Canada, with our resources, with our oil and gas, because this Venezuela situation is deeply going to and is impacting Canada, because we have a government in place, a Liberal government in place that is anti-pipeline, that is anti-oil and gas, that has put us into a very, very weak position. We are compromised at great lengths, and we are going to need to go back to Parliament to do the work. And so the other thing I want to leave you with, because everybody is going bananas about Trump and what he did with this international law thing. I just want to read through this.
I'm so tired.
Sorry.
75.
Okay. So Konstantin Kisin, if you guys aren't reading him or follow him, I think he's wonderful. He does trigonometry. He's a really intelligent guy. And so he just wrote this, and I think it's really cool. So he said, all the bleeding about international law shows just how completely deluded some of our elites have become. International law was a pleasant fiction that lasted for a few decades. It was never real, and now the world has reverted to its default setting, great power politics. Hang on, I gotta keep going here. This is why, as a strong Ukraine supporter, I have never talked about international law or called Putin's attack an illegal invasion. Laws are based on submission to an overarching authority backed by farce. There is no such international authority, and even if you view the UN as one, it does not have the ability to use force against those who violate international law other than against small countries with weak militaries. When the US attacked Iraq, the UN did nothing. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the UN did nothing. If China invades Taiwan tomorrow, the UN will do nothing. If you cannot enforce a law, it's not a law. Kind of like why all of our criminals in Canada are out on bail. I do not support Ukraine because naughty Vlad broke the rules. I support Ukraine because it's not in our interest in the West to have Russia marauding its way through friendly countries on the borders of Europe. It's in our interest for us to be as strong as possible and for our adversaries to be as weak as possible. President Trump is a realist and a pragmatist. He sees through the fictions other leaders cling to. A good leader advances the national interests of his country. If more Western leaders did this, our civilization would be in a much better place. And I actually want to leave it on that, because one of the things that I everybody's a bit of a hypocrite, right? So everybody who hates Donald Trump or has Trump derangement syndrome and just like can't see anything good, like they hate him too much. They're the same people who say, oh, politicians just do photo ops and politicians just say words and don't do anything. Well, you can criticize Donald Trump all you want and his idiosyncrasies and his odd personality and his quips and all of those things that he does. But the one thing you can't really criticize Donald Trump about is when he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And so he does take action. And I'll tell you, as somebody who was in the middle of the 12-day war, stranded in Israel, because the airspace was shut down and Israel had bombed Iran. I'll tell you, never before have I been as thankful for a president and a leader as I was for Donald Trump, because he took action, he sent over the F-2 bombers, and he shut that war down like that. I don't know any other president that would have done that. And so leadership in extreme times is very, very critical. And I'm sure like in the midst of it, it's tough, and you don't see the value of somebody till long after they're gone. I mean, look at what Stephen Harper is perceived as now versus what he was perceived as. He's now seen as a hero, one of the greatest politicians of all time, but in that time he was seen as the devil. And I think we are in a very extreme time. And yes, Donald Trump has a very quirky personality, and I think he's a product of his age. I think he's a product of his time in terms of the sort of inappropriate things that he says that offends people so much. But he has taken the leadership and followed through on what he said he would follow through on. And so I think that's really important. The other thing that I want to say is Crazy Town this guy, this pundit on, I don't even know where, CBC or some mainstream media. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Basically said Pierre Poilievre is compromised because his wife is Venezuelan. Like, can you imagine if a conservative said that? Like, we'd be racist. Like, the double standard is bananas. Like, it's actually bananas. Okay. That's where I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm getting messages here, so thank you guys. Harper wasn't liked because he did what he said he would do. Like, this is it, right? Like, so people get so offended. They bitch and moan that politicians do these photo ops and write the words. Like, how many words has Mark Carney said? How many things has Mark Carney actually done that he said he was going to do? None of it. In fact, he's done the opposite. Everything's gotten worse. And so now, but people are like, oh no. Anyway, you're not crazy. That's the good news. The media is crazy, and they are not reporting facts. They're reporting opinions and feelings, and not real. So thank you all for watching. I'll be back, and I'll work on creating it a little more savvy, and we'll make it look good. Oh wait, this is what I always. I don't hate. This is from Arnold. I don't hate Donald Trump. What I don't like about him is his failure to tell the whole truth about his actions. 1 minute he's praising NAFTA agreement to which he signed and bragged about how good it was. Yeah, he. Listen, he's a wild man. I'm worried about our leverage with oil. Marco, you are 100% correct, and this is why Parliament needs to resume. Like, we need to be like, so if I was in a position of prime minister right now, 2 things I would have done. I would have got in a freaking plane and I would have went straight down to Donald Trump right away. And I would have sat with him and been like, okay, listen, you're doing this with Venezuela. Thank you for liberating those people. That is amazing. Thank you for doing that. Now I need to talk to you about what we have and how we can still work together. Like, I think we don't have that leadership and we don't have those relationships built in Canada. Like, you can't forget Chrystia Freeland sat in front of us in Parliament, in front of the country, and called us Maple MAGA and insulted Donald Trump 10,000 ways to Sunday. Like, and you think people forget that? Welcome to politics, friends. Like, the people who are in politics are driven by ego, like greatly driven by ego. And you get up there and you insult people personally, attack them. You think they forget that? Like, that's the problem. And then when Danielle Smith actually showed leadership, went down to Mar-a-Lago when all this was going down, everybody like shit on this woman. And yet she was doing the very thing that needed to be done as a leader. We have a product that the world should be using. We need our own sovereignty. We need strength. We need to build our economy. And what are we doing? We have a prime minister who's like, oh, I signed an MOU, but I'm going to veto the approval process to the province, which is bullshit, because it's his own laws, his own liberal laws that says it's federal jurisdiction, not provincial jurisdiction. And he's setting it up so that when the province says no, David Eby, which he knows he's not going to, oh, that wasn't our fault. It's not our fault. No, it's the province's fault. This is what they do over and over. This is what they've done with healthcare. Why do you think people are dying in ERs? Because there's no accountability for the federal transfers. There's nothing. There's nothing in place. There's no checks and balances. It's the same with daycare. It's the same with all of these programs. They set it up for the province to fall, and then they don't have any checks and balances in place to find out where it's going. Like, I saw this over and over again. And I was only there for 4 years. Like, it's painful what they do. And so you have to see it to believe it, and that's why we have to keep talking. So, thanks, guys. I love your comments. You guys are amazing. How do I get my Nona to stop voting Liberal? Okay, Marco, how old are you? I want to know how old you are, and I need to know where your Nona lives. Email me, hello@michelleferrari.com, because what your Nona needs to know is that her grandchildren and her cost of her tomatoes and the cost of her pasta and the cost of her cheese, all of that is a direct link to Liberal policies. And you need to tell your Nona that the Liberal Party, she didn't leave the Liberal Party left her. And that her children and her grandchildren are never going to be able to afford a home if she doesn't change her vote. And that's not fair. That's not what she wants. Or they're going to take her money when she dies. They're going to tax her so hard her grandchildren are never going to see it. Or tell your Nona that all these immigrants that are coming over, just like she came over and she did all the right things and she followed all the rules, all these immigrants are coming over without any checks and balances in place. Nothing. They're criminals. Show her the clip with the CBSA officer who says, yeah, they just have to fill out an app. They have criminal records. They have an agenda. They're taking taxpayer dollars. They're good immigrants. Do you know who the number one people are who hate immigrants? Immigrants. Because everybody who came over and followed the rules and did everything by the book, they're pissed at all these other immigrants that are ruining their reputation. Do you know how many Indians message me and say, Michelle, these people, these lunatics, these criminals are giving us a bad name. So you gotta have a talk with your Nona, Marco, and she can be convinced. I'm telling you, she can be, because the Italians have actually been one of the biggest groups of people that have flipped to conservative because they realize the Liberals are no longer serving them. Tell me what you think of Alberta independence, Michelle. Okay. I've said this before. The Alberta independence is not surprising. The people why they want it. When you're in a relationship where one person takes, it eventually snaps. That relationship eventually snaps. So unless Ottawa gets their act together and starts giving back and respecting Alberta, they're never going to be happy, and the threat of separation is going to be very, very real. I do not want Alberta to separate. I do not think that is in the best interest of Canada, but I understand why so many people want it to happen, because they don't believe that it is possible because they've been in it for so long. It's a very toxic relationship. Okay, I'm going off now. You guys are the best. Thanks for this. See you soon.